Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Exchange, where souls meet, hearts transform, and love leads the way. We are here today talking about transitions and moving through the different transitions of life.
Yes, because it's an important thing that people really don't pay a lot of attention to, right? We just think we should be able to go from one thing to the next. We don't really pay a whole lot of attention to that in between, where you're going from, say, one thing to an entirely different thing. We just kind of bypass that and go, okay, I'm here and now I'm here.
Yeah, well, and it's because sometimes those transitions they're so minuscule, right? Like yesterday we became parents to a teenager, and it's our last baby that's now transitioned over to teenagerhood, which is a transition that we've been kind of building up to.
Yeah.
And then yesterday it's like you cross that kind of threshold of he's a teenager now, but now it's like he's a teenager with 1 day experience, where Friday he was a child with 12 years of experience.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that transitionary period of him becoming a teenager. We've been building towards it, but it's so slow over time that you don't even necessarily know it. And yeah.
Well, and what that looks like and feels like to us, right? Like, it's one thing to watch your child become older and become a teenager and see all these changes that are going on. You see their transition from being a child to starting to be a young adult. But we don't talk about the transition that we have to experience in that, and it's letting go of, letting them do these whatever things that they want to do, experience life, and you don't really have those conversations of, so how is it for you?
Yeah. Well, and I love that you bring that up, because it's been easy yet difficult at the same time. I find because he's our last, it has hit me harder with the reality of him becoming a teenager and him becoming more independent. Not because it's more of a challenge to go through this. It's that with all of the other kids, as they hit this kind of threshold, there was always someone younger that I could pay attention to. And so I can see that I distracted myself from that experience of just going, okay, so they don't need me as much, or they don't need me in the same way, but I still have these people here that are allowing me to be in this role that I'm so accustomed to, right? Yeah. Where like the parenthood of a teenager it's a different role.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So saying that, yes, there was always another, and there's not, and that it's another transitionary period, right? It's going from, having dependence to independence and not knowing what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to talk about just for a moment or two, just that period of, what does that feel like? What does that feel like to you? Going from, there's a whole another transitory period going from dependency to independency, but this part right now, going from having a child to having a teenager.
Honestly, for me, in this moment, it feels exciting. There is that one part of me that's like sad. In that, like, even like going to get his birthday present and stuff, I did kind of walk the toy aisles, and you're trying to look for something that might spark that childlike joy in him, and it's like, that's not what he wants, right? It's me that wants that. It's me that wants to buy colorful toys in the toy aisle.
You want to stay in that child.
Yeah. It's the same with like when the kids' movies come out and stuff, and it's like, oh, do you want to watch this new Disney movie? And he's like, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, but I want to watch that with you. So there's that part of like grief that comes along with that transition. But at the same time, because I've been mom since I was 18, and now it's like, oh, I don't have a little one depending on me. I've now got a lot of space to meet me and to take care of my needs, and that's exciting. So it's kind of a twofold. Yeah,
I can see where the grief piece, and that's the grief piece meets that independence, right?
Yeah.
Is you're sad for, or not sad, but like you miss those children type days.
Yeah.
But this exciting piece of now I can do whatever. And it's like, what is that whatever?
Yeah. And there's also like the witnessing of him becoming an adult. I find that to be really exciting too, because especially because he changes so often and he goes down these different paths, and he likes this thing now, and now he likes this thing, and he likes this thing. But learning who he is it's such a beautiful gift to be able to witness. And then was it Friday morning, I think, that he was like my little boy again, right? Like he was giving me hugs, and we were joking around.
Pieces of that still.
Yeah, because he still needs it too, right?
Yeah. And I think that piece never goes away. Like we all still need.
We all still need our moms, and we all still need our dads. Like, I get that. It's just like, what does that look like now?
Yeah.
You know? And then I'll ask you the same question. How are you feeling with this dependence to independence?
Well, it's an adjustment, right? So, yes, I'm excited because it's like, okay, we've been parents of children for so long that now we're getting into this phase where it's no longer. So it is still kind of sad.
Yeah.
But when you see the growth and you see what the kids are becoming and whatnot, it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I can take a little bit of credit for that and whatnot, and it's nice.
And it's the evolution, right? It's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Yeah. But it's also that adjusting to, yesterday they liked this and now they don't. Or yesterday they talked this way and now they don't. Yesterday they felt this way and now they don't. And it's like, okay.
Now they're doing a 6-7 skibbity thing and we're just trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, so it is, it's exciting. And then that independence piece is, what do you do now?
Yeah.
And, you and I are doing things like this and whatnot, and I won't say filling that time. We're living out these things that we want to do, and I think it is exciting. But there is still a piece that you're like,
well, like I said to you the other day, I've been experiencing more boredom in the recent, say, month and a half, because there's a lot of things that I'm completed and a lot of things that I need to wait for the next step to like get going for it. And then with him having this independence and not, I'm used to like before school routine, after school routine, and I have different things that need to be done, or he has different things that need to be completed with me. And now it's like, no, he's waking himself up, he's showering himself, he's making his own lunch, he's making his own breakfast. Like there's no need for me other than to be like, did you make sure you got all these things done? So I experienced boredom, and the boredom is actually just an interesting emotion to feel, or an interesting thing to experience as a part of the transition.
Yeah.
And to realize like I haven't experienced a lot of boredom because there was so much busyness.
Yeah, there was always something.
Yeah. So now I can sit and I can relax for a bit, and it's like, this is interesting. I'm kind of bored, but I also don't want to fill this time in because I know my body needs to relax more. So,
yeah, and then just taking that, and it may be a different route or whatever. I think it's the same. Just how that applies across many different things, right? Like right now we're in the transition of seasons.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we pay attention to it. Right? We look and we go, oh, the leaves are turning color and it's beautiful and this, that.
Yeah, and we celebrate it.
Right. But these transitions, we don't pay a whole lot of attention like we do with seasons. It's like, oh, you see the colors, you see the change.
Yeah.
And here we are having this conversation about we're basically saying the same thing. I just don't think that we really...
Well, no, like I could look at how we were with the other kids as they kind of met the teenager years, and you do make like, oh, you're a teenager now, etc., but you don't I wasn't really paying attention to what are all the things that I'm leaving behind, right? And it's the same with the leaves as they turn colors. It's like, this is so beautiful and magnificent. Like, look at the way the sun shines on the leaves. And I know I've scared you like multiple times while we're driving, and I'm like, oh, look at the leaves. So I get astounded by it every time in this gloriousness of like they've reached their limit, you know, but you're not thinking of now they're going to fall off and now the tree is going to be barren and now we're going into the winter period. It's just being in that gloriousness of the leaves in that moment.
Yeah. And even that's a great point, is like we look at the barren tree as, oh, now you're empty.
Yeah.
And you're just in a transitionary state, right? There's nothing wrong or bad because you don't have leaves. You're not beautiful anymore. You're still beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, like, there has to be that willingness for us as people. Because we talk about Odin making this transition from being a 12-year-old to a 13-year-old. But it's also our own transition of becoming a parent to a child, to a parent of a teenager. But that means letting go of so many of the identities that we've had before. And I know most of us, myself included, we hold on to those identities, right? Like it's hard right? to let that go. And I think that's where the grief piece comes in, is letting go of that identity. Yeah,
it's you're transitioning as well. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just your child or whatever, or the leaves. You're doing the same thing, and we just don't put a lot of attention to that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when you said about the barren, the trees being empty.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that is not similar to the boredom piece, where it's like, okay, this is now gone, you know, the beauty's gone or whatever.
Yeah.
Now you're building, right?
Yeah, and now you're in this rest period, and that's okay, because there's going to be these new buds that come out and new life is going to start again. But and
you just need to build that up and move on to the next transition, which is that growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what that looks like. So it's
and I think it's also noticing, like, the empty trees are just as needed as the new buds in the spring, as
without the trees, there's no leaves, right?
Well, exactly. Like, you need that kind of firm base, and to go, what do I want to become next?
Yeah.
You know, that clean slate. And I know there's a lot of people who are afraid of that space of, I've just got this blank canvas and I have no idea what I'm going to paint on it. And it's like, that's the most exciting piece.
Oh yeah, because there's so many opportunities, there's so many possibilities. Literally, it's limitless at that point. And then you can just do whatever feels right. Yeah,
because it's not defined already, right? You might have an idea in your mind of, I'm going to use this set of paints that I have, and you're aware of, I've got these paints available to me, but you have no idea what you're going to actually create out of those paints, because the way you and I paint is a totally different expression. So,
it's interesting, because then going from the barren tree to the blank canvas, you know, it is very symbolic of that, the whole process.
Yeah.
Of, you know, here you are, you know, so moving past this transitory teenage years and now moving into independence, that is that blank canvas or that empty tree.
Yeah. Well, and I guess even as you say that, it's like, right, remembering that he's also got this blank canvas now, right? He's 13 in a day. Yeah. So it's like a whole blank canvas of how teenagehood is going to look, and then how adulthood is going to look, which is going to be based off what he creates on his canvas now. And it's the same for all of us, really, is that we just get to, and we can repaint it. Yeah. You know, I feel like for many of us, we get so kind of stuck on what has been. We get so stuck on, this is the way it was, this is the way it's always been, and we have to let go, or be willing to let go of whatever attachment we've had to our identity, to our experience, to even how we're showing up in a relationship. Like, if I was to hold you to who you were when we first started dating, our relationship never could have blossomed into what it is now. It had to go through all these transitions.
Had to evolve, right?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that I find that is interesting when you say that is, a lot of people will paint the same picture over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like you have an opportunity every day to change your painting however you want. You don't have to paint the same picture.
Yeah, well, and sometimes the question is, why do you keep painting the same picture? And I know I've done this where it's like, I don't like this one thing in my life. I don't like the way it's showing up in my life, but I'm going to keep painting it the exact same way. I'm not going to shift just a little bit, you know?
And then my question would be, there is a fear, like, do people fear that transition period, that grief? Because, if I paint this a different way, it's not going to be me.
Yeah. Well, and I would have to say yes, because I know in my experiences, like, I feel like I talked about this last week or recently to you about it when I first started on the Compassion Key journey, and it was like I was letting go of so much of the pain that I was carrying, but I wasn't really stepping into all of the joy and stuff. So I was in this kind of bridge period between healing and being healed or more healed. And I felt like I was kind of empty inside. Like I don't have personality anymore. I don't have these triggers. Yeah. And in a meditation, my highest self came to me and showed me, it was like all of these pixelated pieces of me were all coming away from me, but the new form was more like a holograph where it's like nothing's really defined yet. And so it helped me to understand, like, even in this healing, there's a transitionary period, but you have to be, like, I had to be willing to let go of the pain, and I had to be willing to be invisible to myself, to be able to learn how to define myself now. Right? Without attachment to the version of me that I was becoming, because even the version of me that I was becoming out of the pixelated things leaving me is not actually the version of me that's here now. So it's... Yeah,
nothing's defined. Yeah. And that's important. It's an important thing for everybody to have or come to an understanding, is just the willingness. You don't have to be hard set. You don't have to be anything. You can be, but be willing to evolve. Be willing to have a tough conversation. Be willing to face that transition period. Be willing to face those obstacles. Yeah. We're not all going to get it perfect. We're not all, well, I mean, we had a conversation about this today, and perfect is what it is. So it all is perfect as it needs to be.
Well, actually, I want to bring that up because I had seen a post earlier today about something that you're not looking for perfection, you're looking for authenticity. And I like to look at, like, what is the origin of a word to kind of understand it better as to how we use it now. And so I looked up perfect. Do I still have it on here? I do not. Shoot. My apologies. You can fill in the blank here.
Yeah, well, I mean, our discussion of perfection was, I mean, you asked me, what is my definition of perfection? Yeah. And if you had asked me this 4 or 5 years ago, I would have given you this textbook answer of what perfection looks like. Yeah. Right? It has to be a certain way, absolute angles, perfect lines, clear cut, whatever that is. Yeah. Now, my definition today is much different than what that was 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. Where now, to me, perfection is just everything is perfect where it needs to be, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be the way it is. Yeah. Because it would be not perfect. So it has to be in the current state that it is, it has to be perfect, or it would just not be able to be. Yeah. So then, because we had this conversation, what does perfect mean? And in my mind, I had seen it as like this kind of flawlessness, right? Like everything is perfect. But the origin of the word perfect comes from the Latin verb, perficere, meaning to finish or to bring to completion, which just totally gives a different idea. Like when we say we're reaching for perfection, to reach for the flawless idea of perfection would mean that you're never actually completing it. The moment that you go, this is done,
and I'm okay with where this ended up,
It's perfect.
it has reached its perfection.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of a mind blower to me as someone who grew up trying to be perfect and trying to hit all of these marks. And it was like, no, you just needed to complete you, really. Is just what is the greatest expression of you, which is where that authenticity piece comes in. Because as long as you're speaking your truth, you're living your truth, you're being authentic to yourself, then it's like, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, to bring it back to transitions again, like, I don't think we recognize, like, we talk about the big transitions, right? Like, teenage or childhood to teenagehood to adulthood, a job transition, life transitions. Maybe there's a move, maybe there's a relationship breakdown. There's all these transitions, but we don't necessarily realize that every single day is an opportunity to actually transit to a different version of yourself, you know, and that's kind of exciting because every day can then be a blank canvas and it can be an opportunity to discover who can I be now. But in that, you also have to be willing to let go of who was I yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we often get so attached to the versions of who we were yesterday or the version of who our spouse was yesterday. And we'll go, they did this yesterday.
They have to be,
Well, and sometimes it's not even they have to be, it's that they're always this way. So they're going to keep showing up this way. And it's like, give them the opportunity to change because they can't shift if you're not willing to shift how you see them.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to, I like that willingness piece because it is not, it's not hard set or it's not hard to find, right? It is you're like water. You're in that flow of, I'm willing to go this way or I'm willing to flow that way. I'm willing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay here on land or right here as a rock in this spot on this river.
Yeah.
I'm willing to just flow wherever this current takes me.
Yeah. That was a hard one for me, was the idea of, well, like the idea of going with the flow. And it was like, if I go with the flow, everything's gonna like just turn out bad. So I had a hard time in that kind of surrendering to the go with the flow, which I know you know. I used to get so angry at him when he'd tell me go with the flow, and I was like, ugh. But the flow is like...
It's not flowing the way I want it to flow, though.
But it just felt like it was like 10 rivers all flowing into a big whirlpool, and I was supposed to just go with whatever that whirlpool energy was. But in learning to go with the flow, and then kind of learning to let go of my idea of control and the willingness to go, I am willing to see how God wants to create this for me. That was such a huge transition from me, from like a state of feeling as though the world was, not that the world was against me, but like that it was up to me to learn how to navigate this in a perfect way.
Yeah.
To just being like, I'm willing to experience how this is.
It is taking your hand off the wheel and going, okay.
Yeah, and there's a reason for it all to be showing up. Even when there's positionalities that show up, it's like, oh, cool. Hey, positionality, let me talk to you for a bit.
Let's see what this is about.
Yeah, which is exciting. It doesn't make it hard.
Yeah.
You know, when you can actually just be curious about it, when you can just go...
Yeah, it doesn't make it confrontational, right? It makes it...
Yeah.
There's less fear in having that conversation or talking about positionalities or witnessing positionality.
Yeah.
Because it's just, okay, let's just see what this is about.
Yeah.
There's no personal attachment to it, and it's just, let's investigate this. Let's take a look at this.
Well, I mean, we just had a conversation before we started recording the podcast. We were talking about different positionalities that we were both experiencing recently. And actually, even us sitting here and looking at each other for most of the podcast was a positionality that we were coming up against, where it's like our conversation flows better when we look at each other in the eyes. Yes. So for us to sit and stare at the camera, it feels like we're not connecting. We're trying to connect to a camera, and that's much harder. So to look at him and see his eyes, and I feel like it's even flowing better today than what it has in the past. But before we got onto the recording, we were talking about experiences that we've had with people recently, and positionalities that came up for us, and it was just witnessing, like, oh, you had that positionality, oh, I felt a positionality around that too, or whatever. And it's so impersonal, but it's very personal, you know. But I can
you think that you're the only person having this experience, right?
Yes.
And then when we start talking about it, and to hear that, no, that was my experience as well, and have those positionalities of the same.
But it's like, I'm not holding it against you that you had this positionality. You're not holding it against me. And I know when I look back at different versions of us from the past, we wouldn't have been able to even have the conversation about that, because we both have positionalities of like...
The ego would have been triggered on one side or the other.
Yes, guarding us, right? Where it's so beautiful to witness this transition, I think, for us in our relationship, where we can just talk about these positionalities that came up, or these thoughts or beliefs or whatever that came up, and there's no hard feelings towards us as to what that is. It's truly witnessing the fullness of another person, I think.
And it's I find it's very interesting that you can look back and do those comparisons of this would have been triggering, or you can almost feel it, but it's not there. It's like it's irrelevant anymore, right? It's just that is not.
Well, and I could even go like a year ago, when you look at where we were in our relationship, and even as we've got it recorded on these, where it's like we need to have a hard conversation with each other, right? And recently we haven't even been saying that. It's just, let's have a conversation, which I think is partly because of the safety that we've created for each other to just express without it becoming like a clashy kind of thing.
Well, we're evolving together, and we're talking to each other about that evolution, right? So it continues to become easier. Because we're doing that and communicating to each other, hey, this is my experience, and what's your experience, or questioning that, or
even going like, oh, when you say that, there's a part of me.
The ego is still very much
it's there, it's witnessing, but it no longer gets to be the one that takes over. So
and you can feel like that not to, I guess that's part of transitioning, is that ego mindset. You still see it come up, but you give it less voice, right? It's like, okay, I know you're there, but it's okay, we're gonna have this conversation.
And I was just saying as well, like, I had been out with a friend, and the friend had expressed to me this part of her that wasn't feeling like she could completely trust in this relationship that we have. And it was such a beautiful moment for me to be like, oh, you're starting to notice this part of you that exists, that's talking, but you also know that part isn't true. And that to me is so exciting, because when we can recognize it's just these parts, it's not the whole truth of who I am, it's just a part of me feels this way, it's a bit afraid, it's a bit, untrusting about things, it feels a little bit unworthy or whatever, and to be able to go, I see you, and I can bring voice to you, I can actually bring this part right out here into the middle of our relationship to go, this is what's up, and we can still witness it and still witness each other, and also recognize this is not truth, right? Because that ego, when it comes in and it's going saying whatever it's saying, if you go, oh, this is the truth, that's where you get stuck. It's like you stop transitioning. You're now just a hard ball of ego.
And I remember, and I experienced that. I put the name to it, right? As I've talked about it before here. I think I talked about it last week about the ego hijack. Where it's like you could be going about your day, having this best life, and and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're taken from this best life down to here because you're made to believe that this is the truth, when it's like this is just your ego trying to take you from where you were in your highest place and take you down a few pegs, and that's all that is.
And the problem is like, unless you're recognizing that can ruin your day over and over and over. And you talk about Groundhog Day. As soon as you allow that ego piece to just take over, you're repeating the same shit over and over again, because it's literally looking for the proof that this is what's true.
Where's the juice? Where's the, feed me more. Show me evidence that I am this, whatever, this bad person, or I'm not enough, or I'm not,
or I'm not loved by these people, or I can't trust these people, or whatever. And it will look for that proof.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, I guess that just to go with our theme of transition, there is that transition that from the ego to a higher mindset, and being able to differentiate between the two, that this is just what it is, and it's no more than that, and that doesn't take front and center.
Yeah, and that's it's hard because your brain is coming up with the voice of your ego as well as the voice of your higher mind.
Yeah.
And you really have to ask yourself, does this serve the life that I'm trying to create for myself right now? And like for myself, I had to separate from my ego completely and call it by a different name so I could remember, right, this is not truth right now. Yeah. This is just Kevin is what I called it. But now it's just like, no, it's just a part. It's just this ego voice that's coming up and wanting to retaliate or whatever. So, but
it just wants its space, right? That's really what it comes down to. And there's a good way, or there's a constructive way to let your ego have its space.
Yes.
And there's a non-constructive way to do that.
Yeah.
And it is just harmonizing or balancing or just letting everything have its moment.
Well, letting it have its moment, but also not giving it the mic.
Well, not fully. I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's you. That harmonization is you give a little bit, right? You go, okay, I understand. You go, we need to have a balance here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you your space, but you're not getting the whole ride. You're not driving the whole bus.
Yeah.
You can sit front and center.
You can tell me which way. Steering wheel.
You can tell me which way that we should turn, or how fast I should be driving. I may or may not listen to you, but I will. We can still have this conversation together.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to know, because I know a lot of people ask me, well, how do I know if it's my ego or if it's my intuition or my higher mind or whatever? And to me, intuition, higher mind, whatever, your highest self, whatever you want to call it, it is not going to tell you things that make you feel bad about yourself or make you hate another person. Like, it's more loving, it's more compassionate. And so I think with the ego, it might go, well, he's trying to push me away. That's all he's pushing me away. He's going to abandon me, whatever. Where the highest mind might be like, there's something he's trying to express right now, and how can I lovingly hold whatever he's trying to express right now?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the ego is very dramatic.
Oh yeah.
In its expression and how it experiences life, and it can be so easy to just let that run and to build it and to feed it. Yeah,
and a lot of people do, right? And we witness this and we see this, and again, try
it's
not
to
judge. Not judging anybody for that. I always say, like, now versus like, in your heart what is right and what's wrong, right? And you go, and speaking of higher selves versus ego, you either know or you're listening. You know what I mean? Your ego's talking, saying you're this, but do you really feel that in you? Do you know that to be true? Because that knowing, to me, is, in my sense, is just like, that is the divinity piece.
Yeah.
Where the ego is saying all this stuff and making this up and is not always doom and gloom, but is very controlling. Where the no is just, it's all like, it's more freeing, it's more loving, it's more just is.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like with the ego, it will, like, when you're having that kind of ego hijack, or if you're not aware that you're having the ego hijack, it will be like literally looking back through your life to find all of the examples of all of the times that this has happened, and why this must be true, that you're not enough, or you don't have a voice, or. And it really is in those moments that you need to pause it and just go, okay, for myself anyways, I kind of go, why do I want that to be true? Even if that has been my experience, why would I want to continue on with this story that I don't have a voice? When it's quite clear right now, I do have a voice. So yes, I've had this proof.
Yeah.
But I have to transition, bring it back to transition. I have to transition to a version of me that has her voice heard, which means I need to let go of all previous versions of me that didn't get their voice heard.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not like a snap to fingers. But at the same time, it's the moment you make that choice to go, I'm not going to let this define me anymore. That's where things can be different.
Yeah, and even that piece of the ego hijack, you'll know when you know. Like, when you understand the difference, or how much the ego is running the show, and you all of a sudden, I can't explain it. All I know is I felt it in my body, where it was like, wow, I'm self-sabotaging, like, my God, this isn't real. Yeah. And you can't make somebody feel that way. You can't.
I know, you were wondering.
We can explain it, but I was thinking, okay, how can we create
the circumstance so someone has a big ego kind of holy shit moment.
Yeah, but it is something that I think it just has to happen through you naturally.
Yeah.
But when it happens, you'll be like, oh, I remember when John said this, and holy crap, it's freeing. It is like, wow.
Yeah. It's that whole a moment of realization is worth 1,000 prayers. It's that moment where you actually recognize that there is a part of every single one of us on this planet. No one is able to escape it right from the get-go. Every single one of us has these identities that we've been held on to, or we've been holding on to, that we've had placed on us, these belief systems, these programs and whatnot. And you don't know you have them until you know that you have them. And it's in that moment of realization that you're like, well, damn, everything that I've believed has really been set up to limit me.
Yeah.
And in that, then you can start to kind of work with it and go, how do I want to use this to my favor? How can I use this to my favor?
Well, that kind of goes back to going with the flow, right? It's like, now, well, it's twofold. I can go with this. I can run and flow with all those emotions, because there's no hard stops. There's no I'm not this. I'm not what people define me to be.
Yeah.
I'm whatever I want to be. I'm wherever I decide, or whatever is decided for me to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
which is so much more flowing, right? It's when we go, I'm a mom and that's all I am. Now I'm in a box, which means every situation requires me to be in this mom.
You need to act like a mom, however other mom acts. You gotta read the books, and go to PTA and do what's in this box.
Yes, and it's like, well, that's one part of who I am, and then there's also this part and this part and this part and this part, and I know you've always been against using labels to define.
Just gonna say, this sounds like a labels conversation.
Because it is a labels conversation. Because when we have the label, when we identify with the label, then sometimes we kind of go, this is the box that I'm in, and we can't have all of these other expressions, which
it has to be what that picture is and what has been defined by somebody else.
Well, and that's the crazy thing too, right? Because even just using the word mom, it's like, what does mom mean?
Yeah.
Well, everybody has a different idea of what a mom is or how a mom should be.
Yeah.
or what makes a good mom versus a bad mom. And so you're in a box of mom, but then you also have all these other kind of boxes
When you're in a
around
box
it.
of a woman, in box of a
Yeah.
person, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And everything comes with its own kind of preconceived ideas of beliefs and limitations and what this means and how a person should act if they are defined as this or whatever. And it's just like, if you can define it for yourself, essentially, is what I would say.
Let go of the labels, right? It is nothing. We are just, that's it.
Yeah.
We are. I am, you are,
Yeah.
and tomorrow we will be whatever we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And trying not to put labels on, which is hard because, yes, we still have to.
We have to know what things are,
Yes,
right?
But not being tied to a man has to look this way, a woman has to look this way, a father has to look this way, a mother has to look this way. It really can look however it needs to look. That is the definition of perfection. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Drawing a blank.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's perfect in itself that we can just draw blanks because why not? It's just rebooting.
Yeah.
It's just getting ready for another amazing conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Which we want you guys to be a part of, always. I think this, like, the discussion we had earlier about observations and, whatnot, and us changing. I know it's a little thing, we're not looking directly at the camera. We're not hard set to what that box is, what a podcast should look like. It's more free flowing.
Yeah.
And it's more, what we intended this to be is to have just that conversation.
Yeah.
Where we can just roll to the next topic. Yes, let's have an idea of what we want to talk about because it's been something that we've been dealing with throughout the week or whatnot.
Yeah.
But let's not make it solely about you guys, but we love you. But we want you to see the interaction that we have and hopefully you can take something from that.
What we were kind of talking about, do you know the name of the experiment?
The double slit experiment.
Okay, so do you want to explain it just because you've got more of a scientific...
I'll try, but the double slit experiment is, they set up protons, shot them at a screen, and through these two slits, and they followed that pattern. So on the other side of that, you would have, like, say, two eyes. Yeah. Two lines. And that was, okay, so everything's got to follow that pattern. It's protons just go straight. But then I believe how it goes is when it was observed differently, the photons would actually start going in waves, not in like straight lines. Yeah. So that's it's not the full. Yeah, but it was basically when they observed it, then it was like the protons reacted differently just by being observed. Yeah. And so one thing that we talked about last week after we had done our recording is it always felt like we're talking to this camera and, trying to create connection through the camera. And it felt like the conversation was hard to get through at times. Yeah. And we kind of left the last one and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know this is like, we can literally sit down together and we can go into a flowing conversation for a long period of time. But once we get the camera on, it's different. Yeah, and then we recognize the only difference is looking at each other. Yeah. We, as the observers, were not doing you a service. We were, because we had this thought that, because we had some people say to us, you need to look at the camera more. Yeah. And we listened to that because we're like, we understand. We've got to look at the camera. But actually what creates a sacred exchange between us
is us looking at each other. It's feeding off of each other's energy. And even as I'm doing this, it's like the infinity is running between us to allow that exchange to happen, which is how those conversations should actually go, is an exchange of ideas and an exchange of conversation. And other people can observe it, but it's really what's important here is what's happening between you and I.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's what we wanted. That was our full intention, is just for people to witness that. But yet
we didn't know how to do that.
We struggled to put all the pieces together until, again, having our conversations and just looking at all these little bits and pieces and going, wow, so that's not the problem, and this isn't the problem, or this isn't the problem. It's not that it's a problem, it was just awareness that
it felt more difficult than it needed to feel. That's really what it came down to. And I'll say right now, honestly, this feels more like a regular conversation.
Yes, this feels like what we intended everybody to see, and the hopes that people can take away some whatever that they need to take away from these conversations. Not that we're telling you that you have to do these things. We always will encourage, but just so you can be witness to our conversations, because we think we say some pretty great things. And we have some pretty great awarenesses, and but I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? Because our relationship has evolved. Yeah. And it's just through communication and through having these discussions and having the willingness to push our limits to, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Well, and it's the will. I'm going to keep coming back to this. The willingness to let go of the previous versions of who we've been, so that we can show up every single day as this new version of who we are. Like, I've heard it throughout different relationships in my life where people have said to me, "You've changed." And they've been mad at me for that change. And because I have notes on my phone, and one of the notes was talking about an experience where someone was mad at me for changing after I'd gone through like a lot of big tumultuous type stuff. And then it was, I guess, August of 2023 that I had August of 2022 that I had wrote this poem, because you had said to me, "You're changing." Mm-hmm. But the way you said it was actually like, this is beautiful to witness, right? Like, you were excited to see this kind of evolution of me and how I was changing, but not in a bad way, where I think a lot of people see change as being this bad thing or this scary thing, or you're going to change so much you're not going to love me anymore, or whatever it might be. And it's like, we don't have to change to a point of not being able to love people. Like, I don't think that was ever my intention.
We need to be, I think, accepting of change, right? We should always want to change. We should always be willing and open to that evolution. Yeah. Because if we're always the same and never change, like, it's very limiting. Yeah. And it's very, it's just, I don't think that's what the intent of our existence is. Yeah. Is to just be that rock or that whatever that's not doing anything. We were given these gifts to be able to do something with them, and just to stay the same doesn't evolve that. And
well, I mean, you can look at nature as being the example of something that is constantly changing, right? Like, it's got new growth and regular growth and old growth and now death and whatever. Like, walk into any forest and you will see all different kinds of change that's happening, and none of it's bad. It's all just a part of that life cycle.
We celebrate those changes. Yeah. But or sometimes not celebrating our growth and our willingness or whatever to change and evolve. Yeah. That we should be this way. And
well, and I was reading A Course in Miracles this week, and they were talking about like the idea of specialness, right? Where sometimes we can get so attached to the idea that I am special. And so if I say have a different point of view than you need to change your mind to agree with me because I'm so special. And it's letting go of the idea of your own specialness that allows you to actually reach more love or experience more love. and it's something you have to do over and over and over and over again, is to realize that you're not that special, but also you're totally special. Like, you are a unique, little star beam, whatever you want to call it. You are perfect as you are, but you're not so special that only your point of view is the one that matters, or only your perspective or your thoughts
should be followed
and that willingness to let that go. And I know I've been able to do it in some experiences, and then there's other experiences where it's like I don't want to let this go, but they also go on to say the things that are true you're never actually letting go of.
They're just there, right? I was just reading David R. Hawkins this morning, and there was a piece on that where it's like, the water or the air is just the air. It's always there. There's nothing asked of it. There's nothing, or the water is just the water. There's no, they don't have positionalities, they don't have perspective of things. It is always there. Sure, you'll see a reflection or you'll see whatever, but it is the constant, and that's it. So the truth is the truth, no matter what. Whether we want to see it or not, true is always going to be true.
Yes. And so a lot of people, and I've gone through this myself, where it's like, I have to let go of this thought or idea or whatever that's causing a distortion between us. And I think, well, that's not fair. They should have to be the one that lets this go because I'm the one who's suffering here, which again is like that kind of specialness. But then to realize that all you're letting go of is actually an illusion. Is like, well, why do I think that's painful? It's not even real. It's make-believe in a way. It's a positionality that I've picked up on. Why can't I just let this go? And why am I not willing to let it go? And I can see throughout my life times where I've been like, no, I'm holding on to this as tightly as what I can. I don't want to let this go because I am that special. And it's like, I'm not though. It's a humility test, really.
It kind of goes back to our discussion last week about the glasses, about, we talking about, and I'm not going to go too far into the discussion, but, different people look at life, you've heard the expression rose-colored glasses or whatever. And, we were talking about, how people see things differently. They have distortions in their lenses or whatever. And I mean, we came to this realization that, the rose-colored glasses, the distortions in your lens, you could just make the decision to take the glasses off and just see life as it is, without any distortions, without any color, without any variation. You can just observe.
Because it was almost like this huge moment of like realization for us, where I've been trying to clear off the lens and clear off my perceptions and whatnot to be able to see things as clearly as possible. And like literally it's going like, okay, so I've got a smudge here still, and I've got a smudge here. And it's like the moment you just take the glasses off, you get to see clearly, and that's incredible that it could be that simple if you're willing for it to be that simple. Because I took the glasses off here, but I still have them on as comfort. If I want to put them back on, I can put them on at any moment, right? And I think that's another part too, is sometimes those positionalities, they're self-serving, right? I want you to be the bad guy. I've got my glasses on now. I can see you as a bad guy, instead of being willing to go, I want to see you as clearly as possible. It's But I think for a lot of us, we've been taught, or we've picked up on the kind of language of someone always has to be the bad guy.
Well, that's an indoctrination of just life in general, right? We've been, and it's not a finger pointing exercise. This is just how humans have evolved, and we've taken these things on from other events and other people or other things that have gone on in our lives. So.
We need someone to be right. We need someone to be wrong. We in our specialness, we want to believe that we are the good guy and that the other person is the bad guy. And one thing that has actually been coming up for a lot of people in my life and with clients and stuff is they don't want to be seen as the bad guy, which I understand. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. And yet, if you're willing to be the bad guy because someone else doesn't like you or doesn't agree with you or whatever it might be, in that willingness to be the bad guy, you actually become more authentic to yourself. And it's like, do I choose to be more authentic? Do I choose to stand in my truth, to share my voice, to have people not like what I have to say? Or do I choose to be the good one and just go along with what everybody else wants, but then I'll be pissed off at the end of the day because it's never about me, you know?
And it's actually just a reflection. When you're saying that I'm willing to be the bad guy, that's only one person's perspective of what you're being.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody else can have a different perspective. No, I think you're doing a great thing.
Yeah.
And the other one, a collective could be, no, this is bad.
Yeah.
But that is just their perspective. That's not actually the reality of it.
Yeah, and I really love when like Disney or Marvel or whatever comes out with like the villains version of the story, and you get to kind of see the makings of why they choose the things they do, why they do the things they do and whatnot. And it's just like, oh, so you're not actually the bad guy here. Yeah. I understand who you are now and what made you be who you are. So you don't have to be bad either. I can actually have compassion for you and what your experience has been. So yeah, it's
very interesting. It's what sharks aren't bad; they're just misunderstood.
Yes, that's what our son, who we were talking about at the beginning here with his birthday, when he was 3, he was from like 1 to 3, he was obsessed with sharks. I know so much information about sharks now, but one of the things that he used to tell us constantly was sharks are not bad creatures. Yeah. They're just misunderstood. And he would go on to say that most often when sharks do a shark attack, it's because people look like sea turtles.
Yeah, or seals.
Or seals.
Yeah.
And so they would attack the people thinking they were the food source without realizing or recognizing that it was a person. And so they've gotten this bad name for being this big bad creature. But he was like, they're just hungry. If people would just feed them, and he really had such a compassionate heart towards sharks. Yeah. And it did run up against my own positionalities at times, right?
But I think that now standing back and we're having this conversation, it's 100% right.
I know.
We all are just misunderstood. Like there is no good or bad. We just have different perspectives. Yeah. And different positions that were built off of other things. Yeah. And it was a very great moment that we've talked about it before.
Yeah, and it goes back to like what we were saying. I think it was Monday night where we were talking about like how it's all expressions of love. Everything is an expression of love, and sometimes it gets so misconstrued because we want someone to be the good guy and someone to be the bad guy, that even when someone is expressing their greatest version of love, we might be looking at it and going, that's not love. And I gave the example of the little kid that drew on the side of her dad's truck, "I love you, Daddy," with a set of keys. So she scratched it right into his truck. And for him, it was like, that is the most unloving act that anyone could do. But from that little girl's perspective, it's like the most beautiful gift to give her daddy. Now he will remember, "I love you, Daddy." Yeah. And it's just sometimes our intention can be good. Yeah. But the way we kind of put it into action it's not received the way that we want it to be received, which is okay. But in that moment, you're going to be the bad guy.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it was much better flow. And
yeah. I agree. So thank you everybody for joining us for this week's Sacred Exchange. And we look forward to connecting with you again next week, and we'll see what comes up then.
Yes, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments, or if there's a topic of discussion you'd like to talk about. If you'd like to come on and talk and have a conversation with us, that would be great too. Yeah. I'm still doing my free CK session, so if you're looking for some healing, by all means, Compassion Key is a great modality. It helps release a lot of things that affect us in our daily lives. So by all means, I'm available. Usually just Mondays, because that's what I've set my calendar to. But
Yeah.
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 So that's it for this week, folks.
Have a great day, everyone.
Take care.